Hello, hello. You ready, Rishi?
Hello, I am ready. How are you?
Excellent. How are you?
Wonderful.
I was just reading here about the success of our fellow pioneers, Roboflow, in the TechCrunch article that came out today. That was exciting to read.
I was thinking we could actually sneak them in today. We have 9 projects for today, so for number 10, maybe we do a quick feedback session for Brad and the team on their landing page.
That seems good. That seems good. So, Rishi, what are we going to do today?
Well, we have a handful, 9 projects from players in the tournament who asked us a variety of questions. So we'll go through. We'll give them some feedback on their landing pages, their products, and answer the questions that they have. We have a bunch of interesting topics to cover today.
Okay, that seems exciting. Let's get to it. Should we get started with the top of the list?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And should we dig into just some feedback on the landing page or do something more complex?
So for this one, it's going to be feedback on the landing page. This is from Janil, who's in India, and he's particularly grappling with the question of whether this is clear for users who don't know about cryptocurrencies.
That's great. I don't know that much about it. Okay, awesome. So we're just going to dive in and do some landing page feedback. First thing is the site looks nice. It's relatively clean. You got the kind of stripe flavored gradients, I guess, that everyone's doing here. Financial infrastructure for social tokens. Let's try that again. Financial infrastructure for social tokens. Don't know what that is. And I don't think most people will know what that is. It's a permissionless platform for creators and communities to mint, distribute, and integrate virtually branded cryptocurrencies on Ethereum. So yeah, I mean, I think spot on, basically. If you know what Ethereum is and you know about collectibles and all sorts of cool stuff, then maybe this makes sense. I don't think this makes sense to someone that's not in crypto. Let's see if we can find out what this actually does and then maybe rebrand it. Okay, seems like this lets you make ERC20 tokens. And then, okay, that's like an ERC20 token factory. That's cool. That's neat. Everyone should have their ERC20 token, just like every celebrity has their own little CPG contact FAQ. But I would change this a little bit. Maybe the FAQ will tell us a bit more. What is it? What are social tokens? How is it determined? Okay. What I would probably do is, I mean, the really ambitious thing would be to change the landing page, not to really talk about crypto and using all these crypto words, ERC20 tokens, but to talk about why you'd want to use any of these and why that would make your life better. So there's a bunch of different use cases. Obviously, people are using ERC20 for sending money, creating collectibles and that kind of thing. And so I would kind of pick the use case you're most excited about and change the homepage for that. So if it was something like sell, online collectibles, even like that. I don't even know what that means. And you probably change this. This is a credit card. This is telling you this is a credit card platform like a Brex competitor. And you probably change that to like the actual product you're selling. That would be my biggest piece of feedback. And I think this is now, I mean, the good news for Coinvise is this isn't really a problem with Coinvise. This is a problem with the whole crypto community is there's not a lot of, I find just focus on the use case. There's a lot of focus on the infrastructure. And if you're pitching to other developers, that makes sense. But if you're pitching to users, I would just like definitely focus on how this makes my life better. Rishi, any other thoughts on your end?
No, I think that last part is spot on. The crypto projects in particular tend to have this problem, and I think fixing that is always hard, but would kind of turn this around.
Human IPOs, that sounds crazy. Okay. Whisk dating.
So we can do some quick landing page feedback for Whisk, and then the team has a specific question on growth.
Okay, cool. It's mixing Twitter with dating. That sounds highly intellectual, just like the social network that Twitter is. It's the only dating app that, okay, so overall landing page feedback, and we'll try to get through this quickly, is there's a lot of words here. So, and they're small. So this looks like a really nice Ken Follett novel, maybe, but not something you want to see on a landing page. I'll try and make it a bit easier for your users. You could probably kill this whole section and just focus on like screenshots of the app. Like, I don't think it's the first time I've mentioned this, but if you just go to Strava, it's just screenshots. So you can probably consider something similar. And you'd probably want, people are really thinking in icons when they're on websites like this. So I think you'd probably want to just have Twitter icon with some type of dating icon and then screenshots of the app. What did you say the questions were, Rishi?
Their question is about early growth. And so in particular, they're wondering, they've already had a few hundred people sign up while they're in beta right now, and they're wondering, is the right approach for them to right now aim for virality while they're in beta, or should they kind of pause and work towards some big launch date where they make a big announcement and that gets a bunch of people that way?
It's interesting. Like if we go visit, if we think about the hallmark of all of these dating apps, Tinder, I think the folks who work at Tinder will tell you they have actually no clue how Tinder suddenly became so popular. It just kind of exploded one day. And they think they kind of hit a college campus. That was like the big thing. They hit a particular fraternity at a college campus. I was in their shoes. I think the whole concept of working towards a big launch, like my main worry with that is that feels like an infinite thing. I would just try to build, buzz and excitement, especially on Twitter. Like it feels like if you can't do that, then the company may not have a kind of reason to exist and not necessarily think about a big launch. It'd be super interesting to think about some viral mechanic here, since you're so embedded in Twitter, obviously. Like I think you must figure out as a first order of business how to, how to integrate whatever you do into some type of thing that feeds back into Twitter. That feels extremely important. And there are all sorts of interesting ideas. Like maybe there's a Whisk score and that somehow appears on your Twitter profile. It doesn't just have to be a tweet, I think. Let's make sure we answered their question. Yeah, your best way to build early momentum right now, obviously, is going to be on Twitter, given what you do. And I think you would just want to figure out a way where by using your app, someone's Twitter profile changes or they tweet or, and by the way, one final thought on this, like, I think there's 3 levels of virality in terms of how good they are. The worst level is, please do this for us. Like, please tweet. Like, you see this when you go to TechCrunch. If we go click on Roboflow's article, TechCrunch is basically saying with its little social links here at the bottom, please work for us and tweet this article. This is the worst level of virality. It works, but it's not great. The second level is sent by Hotmail, where you're kind of, just tagging along with something I'm doing organically or not costing me much. It's not derogatory that it was, it is now, but it wasn't back in the day. And then the best level of virality is what obviously Facebook did, if someone tags you in a photo where it's inherent in the product. I would try to get to, either the best or the second best level for what you do. We're looking at some Advil now. Okay, good stuff. Next up, we have, by the way, Rishi, do you think that's fair or do you think I'm missing something here?
No, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that's right. For this next one, Propagate, we actually saw this one maybe a month ago or a month and a half ago, a totally different landing page. Kumar has now completely redesigned it and wants feedback again. You might remember it, the Substack for SMS. yeah, when we last reviewed it. His question is, he wants another, he's asking for landing page feedback, and he has another particularly interesting question that I think generalizes into something that, well, let's do the landing page feedback first, and then we'll get to the next part.
Okay, great. I won't read the question, and we can keep that as a surprise. By the way, excellent update, looking much better. Always nice to have a example on the landing page. Something interesting going on here. Okay. I don't know how this broadcasts on Zoom, but you could probably make it work a bit better if the viewport's a bit smaller. Not everyone has like a 16-inch display. That's kind of a small nitty thing. Nice wavy things going on. Okay, talk to your greatest fans, comma, via text. Interesting. I wonder how this reads without the comma. Is this some weird? Please tell me you made this some weird. I think it's better without the comma. Make money on subscriptions and start private conversation conversions. Conversations that matter. Obviously, you'll have conversions. Some social proof here from some rando people. This is Gal Gadot over here. Anyway, that kind of makes, look, this is good. It's not clear to me. I mean, I think there's an interesting question about what the value prop is. Like, for example, if the conversation over texting is mostly kind of advice and transactional, greatest fans isn't necessarily what you want to shoot for. If it's mostly like, Tiesto is going to use this for communicating with his fans, then I think it makes more sense. You might want to do some thinking about, who your early users will be. I think.
Yeah, I guess a related question there from that framing is, are they already doing this in some form, or is texting with the audience going to be a totally new channel for them? Like, is it a CMS, or is it actually bringing over a new totally new medium?
Yeah. Yep. I like that frame. And then I think an additional frame would be if you are going to go for like celebrities, I don't know, the contract there will be a bit different. And I feel like I've seen this in the past where like a Tiesto type will say, here's my phone number in quotes, and then you can text with them. But it feels very fake. I at least that's my 1 second observation from seeing that. Like, there's no real way this is his phone number, and there's no real way he is going to individually answer messages from people. So I actually, it wouldn't surprise me if like this is better served as a way, basically for consultants who give advice as a living, to do it in a bite-sized format. I think that could be really interesting. I still think this could be really interesting if done properly. So let's imagine we follow our own advice here, because that's always really easy. And then we want to say, talk to, what does Substack say? Loading. Okay, this is very aspirational. I guess anyone coming here knows what they're doing already. Take back your mind. I mean, this lyrics to like a Pixie song. Okay. But maybe you'd be more transactional. Again, I think you can be more aspirational as you grow, and you want to be transactional when you get started. So maybe it's something like, I mean, I realize you don't want to say Substack for X, but, they even say, you may even want to say, subscription, could even say something like, subscription. Subscription. Okay, that's stupid. You don't have to say the company name again. Something like that. The English here isn't perfect for your audience, to your audience, but you kind of get the idea. Anyway, it's a bit of a different market.
Yeah.
You may decide you hit that market. Go ahead.
The question that Kumar has is specifically, if you scroll up to the top, one of the first things you notice, that tweet, he says the tweet's fake. And so there, I think the specific question that he had is, well, is that okay? There is a meta question that I think applies to, that I think we get relatively often, which is, can I put the Pioneer logo if I'm in the tournament, if I didn't win? Can I put this, what if I'm in startup school, can I put the YC logo? If I'm doing bottom-up enterprise sales, can I put the logo of the companies that our users work at? There's sort of a question of what is okay to put on my landing page when it's not completely representing reality.
Yeah, great question. So okay, get to the, let's start with the micro and then with the macro. The micro scale here, look, I mean, this is so easy to get a genuine variant of that you should just like try to get a user and then screenshot it. And then you say, look, I'm literally going to feature on my website. You want paid subscribers. I'm giving you paid subscribers. So highly recommend just getting a legitimate one. But like, how should one be thinking about more aspirational things? Now you meant there's two variants of this we're really discussing here. One is kind of logo attribution, which, you know, is kind of happening here. And then the other one is fake mocks of the product, which is kind of what we were talking about here. I think with, you know, fake mocks, it kind of depends, obviously, what you're doing. It's very situational. If you're going to have a sign-up form and people are going to try your product and you're immediately going to let them down, you may want to ignore that. Now, when it comes to like logo attribution, so say like you're in startup school at YC, you put the YC logo there. I think my view is people can kind of see through that. You know, I have always found, you know, for Pioneer, I've always found, and I think for YC too, the best founders really care about their company. They don't really care about like, you know, the fact that they're part of that is second to them in their company. Maybe they care really a lot about YC. They care a lot about Pioneer, but really what matters is company first. And so they don't necessarily attribute it that much. Obviously, it'd be awesome for us if they did, but I'm happy for them. They have other things to focus on. And so I don't know, I can kind of see through that, I find, when people overplaster this stuff. So, you know, I probably would err on the side of not. And maybe here's a more concise way of saying it. There's so much awesome in your product you can probably show that is going to be much stronger than even Pioneer, honestly. So I would just try to, you know, focus on that oomph, which hopefully is a good broader answer. There's one exception to this, by the way, which is if you're in an industry that has like a lot of risk averse people. So if you're like biopharma and you get investment from like a biopharma VC, I think that probably matters much more. Because anyway, you get the idea. So hopefully that's useful. Good progress. Great progress.
All right, let's get to event loop. Which reminds me of iOS, not the product.
KQ.
So Benjamin and team would just like landing page feedback, and depending if we have time, they also sent us a link to a tweet with a quick demo in it.
Okay, cool. Let's do landing page feedback. The events-driven network for the tech community. Event Loop is a place for remote first meetings, conferences, and more. I actually feel like if I were in your shoes, I would reverse these. This actually, to me, is much better because now I know what it is. And you can have that other text be down here. I don't think you need introducing event loop. This is not like WWDC. I know it kind of looks nice, but less text is better. It is, so that would be my feedback on the wording. I think you kind of nailed it, but you buried the lead, so to speak. Now, in terms of what's going on here, this seems to be like an interesting kind of mash all together Zoom Slack thingy. I think it's super interesting to build something like this, but to first like stare around the internet and treat the internet maybe as a giant research lab that's doing stuff for you for free. So like all across the internet, there's thousands, hundreds of these startups doing similar things here. I would try and use them all and then try and see if you can make something better. I often worry about this. If you're like the first mover in a market, you don't get to do that. And so there's like Xerox PARC and then there's Apple. The nice thing is you have literally an infinite Xerox PARC in the internet, and there's a lot of these different startups. And I would kind of wonder how you're going to stand out and be different in a big way, not in a small way, but in a really big way. And so if I were the Event Loop guys, I would spend a lot of time in the existing. I don't even know all their names, but I feel like we've seen quite a few variants of this, and then try to figure out how they're going to be dramatically different. I mean, maybe there's a sense of physical space that you're walking around, but maybe people are trying that, so you realize that's not good enough. Maybe maybe there's better chat interface. I don't know. I'm not here to design the product, but that would be my quick feedback on the business. Lower in the fold, I would just have more screenshots, but other than that, it looks good with the text edit, in my opinion.
One thing you might do, I just sent you the tweet link.
Yeah, I see it.
Great. You can probably click through there to get the gist of it. There's actual demo content in there.
Oh,
my loop, which
there's a lot going on here, which is great. Like, here's an interesting thing. I would just try to think, to me, the interesting thing to think about is how can you the more intimacy you can chuck into these types of products, I think the better you're going to succeed at making real world counterparts. So, one thing I can't quite tell from this video is if it's it seems like it's asynchronous. Maybe it offers both. Maybe that's what they'd say. But I do think if it's synchronous, it'd be quite interesting to see, all sorts of interesting stuff, like what other, tracks or videos are people watching right now? What fraction of the audience has the video in their foreground as opposed to background? All that kind of stuff, I think, would be really interesting. And I'd be thinking about it just like mimicking what you would do if this was a physical conference. You can tell who's paying attention to a talk and who's not. You can kind of get a sense of who's in the room and who's not. So to me, I think that's a very fun product angle to go down. And because it seems like you got the basics here, which is great. Sometimes when you build a business, you're like, okay, thanks for the ideas, but first we have to build the basic platform. And it seems like you have some scheduling, some, embedded video, some chat. Now kind of the question is how you're going to layer, your special sauce on top of it. And I did kind of see one of the questions was like, do we stand out enough from the other people doing, similar things? I feel like the answer is no. So it'd be good to figure that out. What do you think, Rishi?
Yeah, I agree. It's also a bit hard. Maybe what the landing page needs is to focus on that particular thing a bit more in the demo. Because right now, looking at those screenshots, it's just too much to parse. Because first I have to load all of the normal functionality. Then I have to process about what's different about it.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's always hard, I think, it's hard for us to focus on simplicity in a landing page because we kind of want to communicate everything to people, and you're kind of like picking, children, and you don't want to like lose one message for the other. But don't forget, you can always create like ancillary landing pages. And so I think in that sense, it'd be helpful to be more focused. All right, next up, Booste.
Eric's question here is, once you spend 30 seconds or a minute on the landing page, is trading off growth versus unit economics. In particular, he's spending a lot of money on GPUs. So, and it's solvable via engineering time, but not sure how to prioritize focusing on that versus growth and letting that slide for now.
So, okay. So like, I think the, like, no, the answer is, the answer is like how to not be this. Very nice landing page. How to not be this. And the issue with this is, by the way, this might work out. So there's a lot of issues with this. But there's a question, what's the difference between this one and this one? Because both had terrible unit economics up until and including the IPO. And I think the reality is you need to have in your own heart of hearts, don't give me some investor pitch, but in your own heart of hearts, you need to have a clear, obvious path to making the unit economics work. And as long as you have that, you can not necessarily be profitable for a while. Everyone likes to point to Amazon, which is not profitable for an extremely long period of time. Basically, I think until Q2 2017 or maybe Q3 2017, where their profit margins for the core Amazon product went from like 2% to 20%. So you can afford to do that. Where things go south is when you become so interested in growth that you stop realizing, or you don't have an eye onto how to become profitable. So in particular, what happened to these guys was their first few regions and geos were profitable. Like the unit economics for San Francisco actually worked out. The issue is they expanded so quickly internationally. They never kind of made sure, are their dynamics the same in San Francisco as opposed to other regions? And then they kind of realized, oh, actually they don't. They're not the same. Then they got overfunded. A lot of things went south. So if I were you, and just, recontextualizing this, right now, obviously you're hemorrhaging cash. If there's a way, if you can really truthfully, honestly to yourself, see a way where if you'd spent theoretically X, Y, and Z, you'd stop hemorrhaging cash. And important second part, there's a buffer there because all of your optimizations are probably going to be off by a factor of 2. Then I think you don't have to focus on it now. But if you kind of know at the end of the day, this is like not going to be profitable really ever, you should find another business and not assume that, silly investors will pay you out. You can try to assume on that. It's just like, you don't have any control really over that. So it's not a great life. You want to have agency. So that would be my advice. The GPU market is interesting. There's a lot of swirl there. The one final thing I would say on this, because you may come back to me and say, yes, we could be our unit economics could be wonderful in 3 years when this random processor is going to come out and it's going to change the world. I'd say, I don't know. It is okay to proceed without profitable unit economics if with your own agency, you have a way to fix that. That'd be my advice. What do you think?
Yeah, Eric said he believes it is solvable via engineering, and I think that makes sense to prioritize growth.
TikTok for the basketball community.
Great. Dimitri would like feedback on that one-liner in particular, and then wants to know what's keeping you from leaving your email address there.
I mean, this would be juvenile, but it's not totally crazy. It depends on the age of your audience, I guess, but it is juvenile. Community is weird. Like, this feels like a VC pitch, not a user pitch. That would be my takeaway. Like, even this would be better. So I wonder if we can make this even sharper. Some counter positioning, really. If you say true basketball fans, oh, this isn't for the fake basketball fans, that type of thing. Anyway, so I think that would be better. You can also just make it shorter. That's probably fine too. Some words here.
I also
that-
wonder.
Go ahead, Rishi.
I also wonder if in the one-liner, if the one-liner should capture TikTok, the fact that you're watching, or something else. See, I mean, if you read that subtitle, there's something else significant going on, and I wonder if that is actually the thing that should be captured.
Right, because there's a kind of
challenging.
competitive back and
Yeah.
forth. Yeah.
Because when I see TikTok for basketball, I think, well, I mean, it's kind of like when dating apps focus on specific segments. It's like, well, a good dating app kind of would capture that, won't it? Or it's just kind of like, you know, we have House of Highlights and all those Instagram accounts that capture this as well too now. So yeah, I wonder if the other aspect is the one that needs to be captured in the one-liner.
I think that's totally true. And I'm sure there's a nicer word than challenges that is from the basketball world. Now, I actually thought the framing of the question to us was quite good. Like, why won't you put in your email here? I don't know about you. I almost never put in my email in these early access things. And why do you think that is?
I think it's the same reason that you need a demo on your landing page. Like, you're just not convinced. Like, if the action there was sign up, I would do it not because I want to sign up because I want to use the thing. It's because I want to see what the thing actually is before I commit to it. And this is kind of putting my email address in it's just not immediate enough. I'm not like, it's just, it'll happen in the future. Not worth it.
Totally. For me, it's like it'll happen in the future. When it comes into my life, when you decide to give me access, is probably not when I'm going to want to use this. Like, you're going to send me something that's going to hit my inbox at 7:20 a.m. on Monday, and I'm going to archive it. It's just like, it's not going to find me at the right time. I would almost prefer, like, I realize I don't personally follow people on Twitter, but I would almost prefer to follow you just because I use Twitter when I'm not working. In general, I have wondered if email's the right flow for this, for anyone. But I'm not intrigued enough, and you've offered me a video here. You're not auto playing it for me, and this button feels like a big commitment, so I'm not going to press it. I feel like I almost never fill these out. And I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the word early is interesting. Like, maybe that's another thing to think about is how could you reward me and incentivize me for doing this now as opposed to later? Because in the back of my mind, I'm also thinking I'd lose nothing by coming back later. So,
Well, what if I told you that, I mean, you'd have to figure out how to put this in fewer words, but what if it was send me exactly one email with a link when this is live? It may be the same result, but I guess what I'm wondering is it some other fear? Because I might, and if that's what you told me, I'd be like, well, that's interesting. Maybe I'll do that.
that's interesting. I wonder if you could, what I'd like about your idea is two things. One is it's more specific, and two is it's different. Like, maybe what you'd want is literally like a visual screenshot of the email that you're going to send me, and I can click, I want this. And it's a nice screenshot, and it's plain text email, and it's short. And I can see that this isn't going to be one of these plastered MailChimp newsletters. I think that's an interesting idea. Okay.
Interesting. All right. Well, we have 3 more projects to get to, plus hopefully we can get to Brad. So let's head to Thomas from Austria, who built Apple Silicon Games.
Yeah. I think it's, by the way, a very interesting idea. I mean, there may be a better distribution platform for those notifications.
I was thinking about that, but yeah, it's potentially, yeah, it's an interesting rabbit hole to
On
go
the
down.
infinite list of things we should do. Apple Silicon Games. So this is a game site. Okay, it's all about gaming on Apple Silicon for Mac gamers. Oh, cool. Doom. It's a cool part of my job. I get to look at Doom. It's always a good day. Oh, okay, got it. So this just tells me if I can play it on Apple Silicon. What should we poke at here?
Thomas has, I think, a unique question for us in that in the last few days, it's already kind of become a place where game developers hang out. I'm not that sure how, but I guess they're able to do it to give early access to early adopters and beta testers. So it seems like a little bit of a community is starting to form around it. And he's wondering, if you were to take an ambitious view, what do you think this could become in 5 or 10 years?
What the heck? Oh. Wow. Anyway, basically this thing, I mean, assuredly, this is could be the beginning of, okay, so I'd say three things. One is obviously the Mac laptops are surging in popularity, like gangbusters for Apple. Second is anything surges in popularity is just, I mean, it's just, you're just going to get more volume. And so the third thing is like a real tight-knit community on a website that is like not shitty to use. Like if you go to all the popular game review websites, they're hell. They're absolute hell. Like if you actually try to, I mean, ads, there you go. There's like ads everywhere. And if I go to like top games, GameSpot, which is usually what you want, the website loads slowly. There are ads everywhere. It's like not tight, and I don't even know. It's like sometimes there's a user average. Sometimes there's this. Is this their score? Like, why doesn't it always appear? Anyway, if you could make a better version of that, you could usurp these people, and you could be. I don't know how much Red Ventures is worth, but they basically are a media company. Silver Lake gave them $250 million in 2015. So, oh, there you go. That's how much it's worth. It's $1 billion thing. It's probably more at this point. So I think you can probably become that over time, like, and probably even bigger. Maybe this becomes, kind of Reddit for gaming. Really depends on the way you want to take it. Editorial versus community driven. But people love games, and it's so easy to build community around them. So, I think if you really wanted to, it's yours for the taking, because all the existing kind of game review community sites are awful to use. So.
Great. I actually needed this. I was just wondering about running a game on Macs just very recently, so I will be poking around here. Next up, we have GuineaPig. And Elias from Sweden is asking essentially landing page feedback. Do you understand what we do, and what should we do to improve our messaging?
Let's go visit Trot over to GuineaPig. Promote healthy habits for your team in Slack. It's a wellness center for teams that offers everything from healthy challenges to personal training. And I see a very well-manicured man talking to me and a giant cookie policy banner. Good God. Okay. I mean, there's obviously a lot of care has been put into this, which is great. I think in reality, if you put yourself in the consumer's mindset, which we'll mimic for a second, I'm not going to click play on this video. So I have no clue what you're saying. There's no subtitles. Why am I not going to click play? Because I'm like not ready to like engage and like listen to video. I like that you autoplayed, it's halfway there. Meanwhile, lower in the landing page, you have all sorts of interesting tidbits and screenshots. That's what people really want. Like I came to a website probably to use a product. If I were you, I would bring all this content up either on a carousel or I would just put it out there on the landing page. Just screenshots of your app.
I'll add, by the way, on the video front and related to the screenshots, I usually in particular don't click on videos of people talking about the thing. I want to just click on video. I would click on videos of the thing itself.
I think that's a very interesting point. Why do you think your mind has kind of learned that?
It's actually related to the reason that I prefer text over podcasts. It's just you can't like I guess you can 2x it, but you can do the data intake at the rate that you'd like with a video. You can just click, and then you get like the 10 screenshots you need. Now you understand it. With a video, you can't really do that because you have to listen to the person and all the words.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's totally true. And you kind of know this person's just going to be talking. And it's kind of like a shopkeeper steps out of his store and he says, let me describe to you what's inside. I have, a shelf with some, potions, and I have a shelf with some wands. And I say, just let me inside the store, please. Don't kind of describe it to me in the abstract. So I think that's good. The other thing I would say very quickly is there's a lot of aspirational messaging here, which I think, usually means a lot of thought has been put into it. But I do think you may want to get a bit more simple / transactional, a wellness center for teams in Slack. To me, that's not personally appealing. Now, I do think the world kind of splits into the, how would you say, sauna and massage mindset versus the like performance and deadlift mindset. And I'm a bit in the latter, so I may just not be the right target audience here. But if you were able to like pitch to me how this makes my team perform better, insofar as much as you want to pursue aspirational messaging, I would be much more interested in that as opposed to how it makes them kind of relax more.
I would more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna ask one more. Elias didn't ask this, but book demo versus the demos right there, or book demo versus just sign up now. When is booking a time to talk the right move? That's the right phrasing of that question. Because if you go through this flow, basically I just have cursory interest. And now, first of all, I have to figure out when I'm free. And so I have to do some math here. Then I have to talk to you and think about gearing up for that meeting and what else am I doing that day. Anyway, so I think it's a great question of like, when can you do this and who gets away with it? I think you can get away with it with extremely high-end enterprise sales, or where the value prop that you found to your customer is so utterly clear, that they're going to climb through that hurdle. So where you often see this is where people are extremely good at buying highly targeted ads. So if I were to search for like mesothelioma, which I don't know how to type, but Google can help me. These guys, I'm not going to click on them, poor souls, because this is like $60 a click, can tell me to basically book a demo because I've come to this website, I have asbestos, whatever, I have mesothelioma, and they're going to give me money. So you really have to have a tremendous amount of pent-up intent for that stuff to work. The great news is if you can build up the intent, like in terms of PSI and pressure, you do manage to get your customers face-to-face, which is basically impossible to do in most other scenarios. So that would be my quick 2 cents on that. I do remember we had one player ask maybe 2 months ago, well, when I have the book demo button, when I force users to go through that conversation, downstream conversion is much higher. And that makes sense, but the conversion upstream of that is going to be horrible in most cases.
Yeah, it's probably useful. I think if you've tried everything else and, you'd probably give it a go a week or two, but I think you're totally right. You're losing a lot upstream.
So this is Basant in India, and he has already a bunch of stores and customers in a specific zip code using this.
That's awesome. I think there was some pioneer that was also doing this from Sri Lanka. There seems to be a lot of these, which is great. It's like Instacart for the developing world. Free delivery from your nearest trusted store. So should we do some landing page feedback, or do we have a more specific question?
We can actually skip. I mean, maybe I think it'll be quick for this one. So let's do 1 minute of landing page feedback, and then he's got I'll just give you the question. How should he think about consumer acquisition in his zip code? So it's local. It's kind of it's an unusual. Most of the time we're thinking we'll just go to Instagram or whatnot, but yeah, specifically for his zip code.
And his zip code is in India. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Like actually often doesn't have zip codes, fascinatingly. The True Frontier IMO. Yeah, so obviously on the landing page, like I think this is geared at someone that kind of knows that this is local to India. Obviously you have Hindi here, I think. But yeah. you may, I think, I don't know. As far as I know, it's not English. Free and I think the more local you can get, the better. So like, I don't know, if this was like in Kerala, I think that would be really, because you'd really stand out at this point, because I think you've probably zero local competitor to that. So that'd be my largest landing page feedback. This WhatsApp us for help is probably incredibly useful. By the way, speaking of conversion, on that earlier topic, maybe WhatsApp me a link, a download link is better than email me. I don't know, it's just food for thought. But refocusing here on ShopEG, how do you get more people in your zip code? So I don't know what the zip code is. If it's Delhi, I imagine there's like, if it's a large metropolis, I imagine there's more mechanized things you can do. If it's like a smaller city, nothing's going to be kind of going out and getting people to just download the app. I'm super intrigued by the idea. Let's imagine this is in, Kerala, or honestly, I don't know, the third, fourth, fifth largest city in India. You probably can very affordably just pay people to spread the word about the app. If you literally think of yourself, if this was a physical storefront, what would you do? I think that would probably work pretty well. And it would at least get you to like, I don't know, $100,000 in GMV. I don't know if it's going to get you to $1 billion, but I think it's an amazing first start. And I think if you pick a country where people are pretty mobile and go from place to place, it'll afford you the opportunity to expand. So I would actually not go digital at all, would be my 2 cents. And I really think you can probably afford to pay in India, like literally 100 people to just go around and get the app installed and distributed. So
yeah, I do think that the like storefront dynamics in India very different from certainly the US. So I would probably also try a bunch of experiments, see what works, because I think I've been to India quite a lot. I don't have an intuition on what would work, but I do think it would be quite different from what would be effective here.
I think that's totally true. And we can be reminded, of course, of like when Uber came to India, it utterly crashed and failed for a while because things were just different, cash on delivery society. And so like you do have to customize and specialize the dish to the culture.
All right, 3 minutes. Roboflow.
Yeah, so let's go to Roboflow here. On some unsolicited feedback here, everything you need to start building computer vision into your applications, try it now. Now, I don't know for the Roboflows what the latest is in terms of, it's quite possible this is just jazz and a lot of it is just outbound sales, in which case I think this matters a bit less. But let's imagine, actually, I'm sure if we'd get them on here, I'm sure they tell us, yeah, we do some outbound sales. We also want it to be self-serve so that we can grow in the companies that we land at. I'm pretty sure that's what they both say. So in that sense, you do care about the homepage communication. Now you may say, well, who's landing here? Is the engineer landing here? Is the manager landing here? Is the CEO of the non-technical company landing here? So let's see. What do you think they'd say if we asked them that? They'd say everyone.
Should we, Brad just messaged me. Should we invite him to do this live for a minute with us?
Sure. I mean, is it if he's around?
Let's see. He says, he hasn't responded to my question yet, but he says, the target of the homepage is trying to expand beyond our developer audience that mostly finds us via our content and tutorials on Google.
And I assume Brad wants oh, there we go.
There he is.
Brad, great to hear from you and welcome to the internet. So when you say you want to expand beyond your kind of immediate audience, who would be the new ideal customer?
So we want to get to decision makers. So those people's bosses. So the ideal user is the developer that's actually building the stuff. And kind of the hump that we're trying to get over is that there's other people involved that are kind of they hold the budget, but they're not necessarily the ones using the product. So we want to make it understandable to those people.
So let's just think of who this person is in the organization. Is it the CEO? Is it the manager?
It really depends. I mean, it might be the startup founder. It might be the engineering manager. It might just be somebody in procurement. Although they're not really making the decision. They're kind of the ones holding the purse strings that just things are going back and forth.
Yeah. I could think, and so basically, okay, so the ideal person is okay, we have some type of workflowy apps, and I'm the manager at some construction company. I work in ops probably. And boy, it'd be great if we could just get some computer vision to do all these things I'm doing manually, that type of thing.
So far it's been usually an engineer has some idea, they build out a prototype, and then they bring it to their boss, and the boss is is this how are we gonna get ROI on this? Is this something that we can actually that we should invest in, basically? So it's we have some internal champion, and now we're trying to put our best foot forward to make sure that the boss is on board.
Yeah. Do you guys have justification pages somewhere?
We're working on, if you go on the product side of things, industry landing pages that show use cases on the right side of that.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. By the way, I imagine on this topic, one company that must be going gangbusters right now is, what are they called? Clearview.
Yeah, we're trying to stay well quick with facial recognition.
Morally questionable business, but let's get back to you. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. I imagine, one funny thing I've seen people do in the past, which could be fun for you, and maybe you're doing this, of course, is literally work with these engineers to build out more of your industry verticals. I don't know if you have someone, do you have someone on the company just churning these out?
Yeah, I think we have a dozen of them in some state of progress that we're open to just blanket the entire available space of things that you could build.
Totally. And maybe you should speak to whoever's managing that team and just say, look, your job is to talk to people early in the MQL SQL funnel and just get them to make the page better. I'm sure you've done that, but that maneuver I find works pretty well. and it's really, there's like a, do you ever read Influence by Cialdini?
No.
You'd really enjoy that book. Highly recommend reading Influence. We should all actually do a team read. But anyway, he has this nice chapter on reciprocity.
Read it.
And, okay, great. There you go. So it happens when you work at Pioneer. A great chapter on reciprocity, and TLDR, like if you ask people to do you a favor, they're somewhat, you feel more obligated to repay it in turn, but they also feel kind of more contractually connected to you. So if you do really have a person who's like, I just can't get this through my boss, I think you really get them entrenched in the process. If you say like, we're literally going to make a landing page specially for you. It's a secret between us, but we're going to make it specially for you. And then just churn it out. And I don't know that, by the way, you need like, this could be half a person's job if you have a good CMS on the site.
Yeah, we're also working on like individual case studies. If you go to the docs and support blog, there's like a case studies link. And then once we get enough next to product, once we get enough of them on blog, and then there's a
That's
case
really hidden.
I know we're going to move those to the specific industry pages that they go with, but we've been working on like everybody who has a really cool use case, trying to get them to participate in a blog post that is like about their project, how they used Roboflow.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it seems like there's some good, step one, tag these, and then step two, like there should be more industry buttons here higher up. I mean, this is, although I do think you can make the text a little bit more Walt Disney. This is fine. I think this is great. Like you see pistol, moving, hand, K. Beyond this point, I do wonder if roughly at this point in the flow, I would just jam in like little bubbles. Every bubble's an industry, agriculture, security, ... And you just click on the one you want. And you don't even have to make it nice and animated at first. It could just take you to like a page or a proof point.
Any sites that come to mind that do that really well that we could look at for inspiration?
There was a period, they may have changed it. There was a period where Monday was doing verticals quite well. Like he hides them, meaning you have to like land on the right ad page. You may want to search for Monday ads. That's usually the better way to go through it. So, well, I'm sure I don't want to cost these guys money. This is always funny. Asana buying ads on Monday. Anyway, so I would look at their ads. Basically, maybe you do cost them a couple of bucks and just hit their ad landing pages, which are much cleaner and simpler. Like he has a landing page that is just this block over here. He has another landing page that is just this block over here and so forth. So that's one. GoDaddy had a period where they were good. I don't know what the latest is. You want to look at all these companies that write large checks to Google. They're generally extremely weaponized at this stuff. What happens if I put like internet hosting? I presume this is such an expensive keyword. This has been optimized 25 ways to Tuesday. Like, look at this beauty. I got landed on it. There's pricing here. Powers your purpose. Great wording. Like what if registered?
This is and a big SEO thing too, but Zapier has this. There's like about 1 billion queries on Google where the result is Zapier.
Zapier has become almost infamous for this because they do the adjacency thing really well, right? Like if I do best calendar app, and Zapier is not even a bloody calendar app, but it's adjacent.
We called one of our SEO strategies the Zapier strategy. If you go to roboflow.com/formats, we have every single combination of input and output formats that we support.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah. This is very Zapier. Hey, Brad, congrats.
Thanks.
Great photo. A lot of wilderness, seeing a lot of wilderness here. That's great. You guys are looking good. And hope to see you around.
Yeah, I mean, Pioneer's been awesome. I can't thank you enough for the support that you guys have given us. And I feel like getting connected with everybody has been a big part of growing this company over the last year. So yeah, thanks to you guys, and thanks for being one of the first believers and supporters in us.
It's a pleasure for us to hear that, and we're here for you.
All right. Congrats, Brad.
On that note, I think we're out, Rishi, for today, right? That's a good note to end on.
We are indeed. Great note. All right. Bye.
All right. See you, man. Bye-bye.